The twin suns of Tatooine blazed mercilessly over the endless dunes, casting long shadows across the cracked earth. In the heart of Mos Espa, a small hovel stood unremarkable among the cluster of dome structures. Inside, Shmi Skywalker cradled her newborn son Anakin, his tiny chest rising and falling with the rhythm of life. But this was no ordinary birth, and the Force itself seemed to hum with an ominous resonance. Unbeknownst to Shmi, her child had been marked by a shadow far greater than the suns outside. Darth Sidious, the Sith Lord orchestrating the galaxy's descent into chaos, had sensed the boy's potential the moment he was conceived. The Force had whispered of a vergence, a nexus of power so immense it could tip the scales of destiny. Sidious would not leave such a weapon to chance, or to the Jedi. On the night of Anakin's birth, his agents arrived. Shmi's screams echoed through the hovel as cloaked figures tore the infant from her arms. She clawed at them, her desperation no match for their cold efficiency. "Please, he's all I have!" she sobbed, but her pleas fell on deaf ears. The leader, a figure shrouded in black, turned to her with eyes like burning coals. "Your son belongs to a greater purpose," he hissed. And with a wave of his hand, Shmi collapsed, her mind clouded by a dark compulsion to forget. Anakin Skywalker, barely hours old, was spirited away to Korriban, the ancient Sith homeworld, where the dark side pulsed like a living thing. There, in the shadow of crumbling temples and beneath the gaze of long-dead Sith lords, his training began. Korriban's air was thick with the scent of ash and decay. In a cavern lit by flickering red torches, a young Anakin knelt before his master, Darth Plagueis. The moon's elongated face was a mask of cold calculation, his eyes boring into the boy with predatory intensity. At 5 years old, Anakin was small but wiry, his sandy hair matted with sweat, his blue eyes burning with a mixture of fear and defiance. "You are weak," Plagueis intoned, his voice a low rumble that seemed to shake the cavern walls. "The dark side demands strength. Pain is your teacher. Embrace it or perish." Anakin's small hands clenched into fists. He had heard these words before, felt the lash of Plagueis' punishments when he failed. The moon did not coddle or comfort, he forged. Today's lesson was no different. Plagueis raised a hand, and the air around Anakin tightened, as if invisible chains were crushing his chest. The boy gasped, his knees buckling, but he did not cry out. To scream was to invite worse. "Focus," Plagueis commanded. "The dark side is your ally. Let your anger fuel you. Push back." Anakin's mind raced. He hated this, hated the pain, hated the cold, hated the moon who loomed over him like a specter, but hatred was power, or so Plagueis taught. He seized that hatred, letting it coil in his chest like a serpent. His vision blurred, but he reached out with the Force, clumsy and raw, and shoved against the invisible weight. The pressure eased, just enough for him to draw a ragged breath. Plagueis' lips curled into a faint smile, a rare sign of approval. "Good, you are learning, but you are still soft. The galaxy will not be kind to you, boy. Nor will I." That night, as Anakin curled up on the stone floor of his cell, his body aching from the day's trials, he dreamed of a woman with kind eyes and a warm voice. She called his name, but her face faded before he could reach her. He woke with tears on his cheeks, a weakness he buried deep. Weakness was death on Korriban. By the age of 12, Anakin was no longer a child, but a weapon in the making. His body was lean and scarred, his movements precise, honed by years of brutal training. Plagueis had taught him the basics of lightsaber combat, and Anakin wielded a training blade with a ferocity that belied his age. But it was his connection to the Force that set him apart. The dark side flowed through him like a river, wild and untamed, and Plagueis reveled in its potential. Sidious, Plagueis' apprentice, had taken an increasing interest in the boy. Where Plagueis was methodical, Sidious was cunning, his words dripping with promises of power and glory. He visited Korriban often, watching Anakin's progress with a hunger that unnerved even Plagueis. In a sparring chamber carved from obsidian, Anakin faced a training droid programmed to kill. Its 6 arms whirled, each wielding a vibro blade, and Anakin danced through the onslaught, his red training saber a blur. Sidious observed from the shadows, his hooded figure barely visible. The droid lunged, and Anakin miscalculated. A blade grazed his arm, drawing blood. He snarled, his anger flaring, and with a surge of the Force, he crushed the droid's core, reducing it to a heap of sparking metal. His chest heaved, blood draping onto the floor, but his eyes burned with triumph. Sidious stepped forward, clapping slowly. "Impressive, young Skywalker. Your rage is a beautiful thing, but it is unfocused. You could be so much more." Anakin glared at the Sith Lord, wary but intrigued. Sidious's words always carried a hook, a promise of something greater. "What do you mean?" he asked, his voice rough from exertion. Sidious's smile was a crescent of malice. "Plagueis teaches you to survive. I would teach you to conquer. The galaxy is a prize, boy, and it belongs to those bold enough to take it. Serve me, and you will know power beyond your dreams." Anakin's heart pounded. Power! It was what he craved, what drove him through the pain and the endless lessons. But Plagueis was his master, and loyalty was a chain he had not yet learned to break. "I serve Lord Plagueis," he said, though his voice wavered. Sidious's eyes narrowed, but he did not press. "For now," he said softly, "but destiny waits for no one, Anakin. Remember that." At 18, Anakin Skywalker was a force of nature. Tall and broad-shouldered, he moved with the lethal grace of a predator. His lightsaber, now a true weapon with a crimson blade, was an extension of his will. Plagueis had molded him into a perfect Sith, or so he believed. But the dark side was a treacherous master, and Anakin's heart was a battleground. Sidious's visits had grown more frequent, his words more seductive. He spoke of a galaxy remade, of an empire where Anakin could rule at his side. Plagueis, sensing his apprentice's growing influence, tightened his grip. The moon's lessons grew crueler, his punishments more severe. He sought to break Anakin's spirit, to ensure absolute loyalty. In a ritual chamber deep beneath Korriban's surface, Plagueis pushed Anakin to his limits. The air crackled with dark energy as the moon summoned illusions of Anakin's deepest fears. A woman's face, twisted in agony, a desert world burning, a child's scream cut short. Anakin fought to block them out, but the visions clawed at his mind, stirring memories he could not place. "Focus!" Plagueis roared, his voice amplified by the Force. "You are Sith. You have no past, no attachments, only power." Anakin's knees buckled, his saber falling from his hand. The visions overwhelmed him, and for the first time in years he screamed. The sound was raw, primal, a release of all the pain he had buried. The chamber shook, cracked spiderwebbing across the stone walls as the dark side surged through him. Plagueis staggered, his eyes wide with a mixture of fear and exultation. "Yes," he whispered, "this is your true strength. Let it consume you." But Anakin was no longer listening. The visions had unlocked something within him, a fragment of a life he had never known. A mother's love, a home, a name. Shmi. The name burned in his mind, and with it came rage. Rage at Plagueis, at Sidious, at the Sith who had stolen his life. He rose, his eyes glowing with a sickly yellow hue. "You took everything from me," he snarled, his voice low and dangerous. "Why?" Plagueis' expression hardened. "You were born to serve the dark side. Your life before was nothing. You are nothing without us." The words were a mistake. Anakin's rage exploded and he lunged. His lightsaber ignited mid-strike, aimed at Plagueis' heart. The moon parried, their blades clashing in a shower of sparks. The duel was brutal, Anakin's raw power pitted against Plagueis' centuries of skill. The chamber trembled as their force powers collided, telekinetic waves shattering stone and bending metal. In the end, it was Anakin's fury that prevailed. With a scream that echoed through the Force, he drove his saber through Plagueis' chest. The moon's eyes widened in shock, then dimmed as he collapsed, his life extinguished. Anakin stood over the body, trembling. He had killed his master, but there was no triumph, only a hollow ache. Sidious's laughter filled the chamber, slow and deliberate. "Well done, my apprentice," he said, stepping into the light. "You have taken your first step toward true power." Anakin turned, his saber still ignited. "I'm not your apprentice," he spat. "Not yet!" Sidious's smile did not waver. "You will be. The dark side has claimed you, Anakin. There is no turning back." 2 years after Plagueis' death, Anakin was a Sith in name, but his heart was a storm of conflict. Sidious had taken him as his apprentice, bestowing the name Darth Vader, but Anakin chafed under the new master's yoke. Sidious was a manipulator, his promises laced with lies, and Anakin's loyalty was a fragile thing. The galaxy was on the brink of the war. Sidious's plans, long in motion, were coming to fruition. The Trade Federation, the Separatists, the Republic, all were pawns in his game. And Anakin, now a young man of 20, was his deadliest weapon. On the planet of Geonosis, Anakin stood at Sidious's side as the Sith Lord orchestrated the first battle of what would become the Clone Wars. The Jedi, unaware of the true mastermind, fought to protect the Republic, their lightsabers clashing with droid armies. Anakin watched from a high vantage point, his black robes billowing in the desert wind. "They are fools," Sidious said, his voice dripping with contempt. "The Jedi cling to their outdated code, blind to the power they could wield. You, Vader, are their superior in every way." Anakin's jaw tightened. He had never met a Jedi, but Sidious's hatred for them was a constant refrain. Part of him wondered what made them so different, so worthy of scorn, but he pushed the thought aside. Curiosity was a weakness, and weakness was death. "Your task is simple," Sidious continued. "Enter the fray, kill the Jedi, prove your worth." Anakin's hand tightened around his lightsaber. He had killed before, assassins, rivals, even Plagueis. But this was different. The Jedi were warriors like him. For a moment he hesitated, his mind flashing to the visions of his mother, to the life he had lost. Sidious sensed his doubt. "Do not falter, Vader. The dark side is your destiny. Embrace it, or be destroyed." Anakin's eyes hardened. He ignited his saber, its crimson glow casting shadows across his face. "As you command, my master." He descended into the chaos of the Geonosian arena, a specter of death. The Jedi, caught off guard, fell before him, their blades no match for his ferocity. Obi-Wan Kenobi, a Jedi Knight, faced him briefly, their sabers locking in a blaze of light. "Who are you?" Obi-Wan demanded, his voice steady despite the battle. Anakin's lips curled into a bitter smile. "I am Darth Vader, and you are nothing." The duel was cut short as clone troopers swarmed the arena, forcing the Jedi to retreat. Anakin let them go, his mission complete. But as he stood amidst the carnage, blood dripping from his blade, he felt no satisfaction. Only questions. Who was he, truly? A Sith? A weapon? Or something more? The Clone Wars raged across the galaxy, a maelstrom of fire and steel orchestrated by Darth Sidious. Planets burned, armies clashed, and the Jedi, stretched thin, fought to hold the Republic together. At the heart of this chaos stood Darth Vader, the Sith apprentice forged on Korriban, a weapon of unparalleled power. Yet beneath the crimson glow of his lightsaber and the cold mask of his loyalty, Anakin Skywalker wrestled with a growing storm of doubt. At 22, Vader was a specter of death, his name whispered in fear by soldiers and senators alike. His missions for Sidious were brutal and precise: eliminate Jedi, crush resistance, sow terror. But each victory left a hollow ache in his chest, a nagging sense that he was a pawn in a game he did not fully understand. The visions of his mother, Shmi, haunted him, fragments of a life stolen before he could claim it. And the Jedi, his sworn enemies, stirred out a curiosity he could not suppress. Who were they, truly? Why did Sidious hate them so? On the volcanic world of Mustafar, Vader stood in a command center overlooking rivers of molten lavas. His black armor gleamed under the harsh lights, a gift from Sidious to mark his ascension. Before him, a holotable projected the latest battle plans, a trap for the Jedi on Kashyyyk. Sidious's voice crackled through the calm, smooth and commanding. "The Jedi grow desperate, Vader. Their numbers dwindle and their hope fades. Strike swiftly. Leave none alive." Vader's grip tightened on his lightsaber hilt. "As you command, my master." But as the transmission ended, he stared into the lava flows, his reflection warped and fractured. He was powerful, yes, but power had not brought freedom, it had only tightened the chains. The jungles of Kashyyyk were a labyrinth of towering Roshir trees and tangled vines, alive with the roars of Wookiees and the clatter of battle droids. Vader descended alone, his presence a dark ripple in the Force. The Jedi had come to defend the planet, unaware that Sidious had baited them into a slaughter. Vader's mission was simple: kill them all. He moved like a shadow, his lightsaber igniting only when necessary. Wookiee warriors fell before him, their blasters useless against his speed and power, but as he reached a clearing, he sensed them. Jedi. 3 of them, their lightsabers casting blue and green light through the mist. Leading them was Obi-Wan Kenobi, the Jedi Knight he had briefly faced on Geonosis 2 years prior. Obi-Wan stepped forward, his stance calm but ready. "You again?" he said, his voice steady. "Darth Vader, was it? Why do you serve the Sith? What drives you to this bloodshed?" Vader's yellow eyes narrowed. The Jedi's words were a probe, seeking weakness. "You know nothing of me, Jedi," he growled. "Step aside, or die." Obi-Wan's gaze softened, almost pitying. "I sense conflict in you. The dark side has claimed you, but it does not own you. There is still a choice." The word struck Vader like a blade. Choice. He had never had a choice. Not on Korriban, not under Plagueis, not under Sidious. Rage flared, drowning the flicker of doubt. "You speak of choice?" he snarled. "The Jedi are hypocrites, chaining the galaxy to your dogma. I will break you." He lunged, his crimson blade a whirlwind of death. The other Jedi, a Twi'lek and a human, met him, their sabers clashing in a symphony of light. Vader was a force of nature, his strikes fueled by years of pain and anger. The Twi'lek fell first, her saber arm severed, her scream cut short by a final blow. The human lasted longer, but Vader's telekinetic grip crushed his windpipe, leaving him gasping in the dirt. Obi-Wan fought with precision, his Sorisu form a wall of defense. He parried Vader's onslaught, redirecting his fury. "You're powerful," Obi-Wan said between strikes, "but your anger blinds you. Let it go, and you might find peace." Vader roared, his blade driving Obi-Wan back. "Peace is a lie," he spat, echoing the Sith creed. But even as he fought, Obi-Wan's words burrowed into his mind. Peace. The visions of Shmi flashed. Her kind eyes, her gentle voice. He faltered just for a moment, and Obi-Wan seized the opening, disarming him with a deft twist of his saber. Vader's lightsaber skidded across the ground. He stood, chest heaving, defenseless but unafraid. "Finish it," he hissed. Obi-Wan lowered his blade. "I won't kill you, not like this. You're not just a Sith. I see it in you. The boy you were meant to be." Vader's fists clenched. The Jedi's mercy was an insult, a mirror held to his fractured soul. With a surge of the Force, he hurled Obi-Wan back, retrieving his saber in a single motion. "You're a fool," he said, his voice cold. "Run, Jedi. Next time I won't hesitate." Obi-Wan hesitated, then vanished into the jungle, leaving Vader alone. The Sith Lord stood motionless, the weight of the encounter pressing on him. For the first time, he felt the dark side not as strength, but as a cage. The encounter on Kashyyyk haunted Vader. Obi-Wan's words, choice, peace, the boy you were meant to be, gnawed at him, stirring the visions of Shmi. He could no longer ignore them. Sidious sensed his unrest, assigning him menial tasks to keep him occupied, but Vader's resolve hardened. He needed answers. Tatooine called to him, its name a whisper in his dreams. Against Sidious's orders, he stole a ship and charted a course for the desert world. The twin suns greeted him like old enemies, their heat a stark contrast to Korriban's cold. He landed near Mos Espa, his black cloak drawing stares from the locals. The Force guided him to a small hovel, unremarkable yet achingly familiar. Inside, he found her, Shmi Skywalker, older now, her face lined with hardship but still radiant with kindness. She froze at the sight of him, her eyes widening. Who are you?" she whispered, though something in her gaze suggested she already knew. Vader removed his hood, revealing his face. Scarred, hardened, but unmistakably her son. "I am Anakin," he said, his voice breaking. "Your son." Shmi's hands flew to her mouth, tears spilling down her cheeks. "Anakin, they took you. They said you were gone forever." She reached for him, but he stepped back, the weight of his darkness a barrier between them. "Who took me?" he demanded. "Tell me everything." Shmi's story poured out, a tale of cloaked figures and a night of terror. She spoke of the man with burning eyes, the one who had stolen her newborn son. Vader's blood ran cold. He recognized the description. Maul, Sidious's former apprentice, sent to do his master's bidding. The truth crashed over him. Sidious had orchestrated his entire life, from his abduction to his training, shaping him into a tool of the dark side. "Why?" Vader asked, his voice a raw whisper. "Why me?" Shmi took his hand, her touch warm and grounding. "You were special, Anakin. I felt it even before you were born. The Force was strong in you. They wanted that power for themselves." Vader pulled away, his mind reeling. He had been a pawn from the start, his life a lie. The dark side had given him strength, but at what cost? Shmi's presence stirred something long buried, a longing for connection, for a life not defined by pain. "Stay," Shmi pleaded. "You're home now. We can start again." But Vader shook his head. "I can't. Not yet. There's something I have to do." He left Tatooine that night, his heart a battlefield. Sidious had to be confronted, but the Sith Lord's power was vast, his cunning unmatched. Vader needed allies, and there was only one place he could turn. The Jedi Temple on Coruscant stood as a beacon of light, its spires piercing the sky. Vader approached under the cover of night, his presence cloaked by the dark side. He had no illusions about the reception he would receive, but Obi-Wan's words on Kashyyyk had planted a seed. The Jedi might be his only chance to break free. He slipped past the temple's defenses, his skills honed by years of Sith training. In the archives he found Obi-Wan meditating, his presence calm but alert. The Jedi's eyes snapped open as Vader stepped into the light. "You," Obi-Wan said, rising. "I sensed you'd come. What do you want?" Vader deactivated his lightsaber, a gesture of truce. "Answers and help. My master Sidious stole my life. I want to end him." Obi-Wan's brow furrowed. "Sidious? The Sith Lord behind the war?" He studied Vader, weighing his sincerity. "Why should I trust you? You've killed my brothers and sisters. You're steeped in the dark side." Vader's jaw tightened. "I don't expect trust, but we have a common enemy. Sidious will destroy us all. Jedi, Sith, the galaxy. I know his plans. I can help you stop him." Obi-Wan hesitated, then nodded. "Come with me. The Council must hear this." The Jedi Council was a tense affair. Yoda and Mace Windu and the others regarded Vader with suspicion, their hands never far from their sabers. Vader stood before them, his presence a storm in the Force. He revealed Sidious's identity, Senator Palpatine, the puppet master pulling the galaxy's strings. The Council was stunned, their trust in the Republic shaken. "He plans to declare himself Emperor," Vader said. "The war is his creation, a tool to weaken the Jedi and seize power. I can lead you to him, but you must act now." Mace Windu's eyes narrowed. "And what do you gain, Sith? Redemption? Power?" Vader met his gaze. "Freedom." Yoda's ears twitched, his gaze piercing. Conflict within you, I sense. The dark side, strong it is, but not absolute. A choice you still have." The Council agreed to a cautious alliance, but Vader knew trust was fragile. He would have to prove himself, or betray them when the moment came. The confrontation took place in Palpatine's private office, a sanctum hidden beneath the Senate building. Vader led Obi-Wan, Mace, and 2 other Jedi, Kit Fisto and Saesee Tiin, through the labyrinthine corridors, his heart pounding. This was his chance to break the chains, but Sidious was no ordinary foe. Palpatine greeted them with a smile, his guise as the kindly senator flawless. "Master Jedi, to what do I owe this visit?" His eyes flicked to Vader, and a shadow of amusement crossed his face. "And my apprentice, have you come to betray me?" Vader ignited his saber. "You stole my life. This ends tonight." Palpatine's smile vanished, replaced by a sneer. "Foolish boy. You are nothing without me." He raised his hands and lightning crackled, hurling the Jedi back. The battle erupted, sabers clashing in a blaze of light. Sidious was a maelstrom, his dual sabers spinning with lethal precision. Saesee Tiin fell first, his chest pierced. Kit Fisto lasted longer, but Sidious's lightning overwhelmed him. Mace and Obi-Wan fought with desperate skill, but even they were outmatched. Vader hesitated, the dark side surging within him. Sidious's voice echoed in his mind. "You are Sith! This is your destiny!" But Shmi's face flashed before him, and Obi-Wan's words, "There is still a choice," rang true. With a roar, he charged, his saber aimed at Sidious's heart. The Sith Lord parried, his laughter mocking. "You think you can defeat me? I made you!" Vader's rage exploded, but this time it was tempered by purpose. He fought not for power, but for freedom, for Shmi, for the boy he might have been. His blade found Sidious's arm, severing it. The Sith Lord staggered, his lightning faltering. Mace seized the moment, driving his saber through Sidious's chest. The Sith Lord's eyes widened, then dimmed as he collapsed, his body a lifeless husk. The chamber fell silent. Vader stood, chest heaving, his saber still ignited. Obi-Wan approached, his expression wary but hopeful. "It's over, Anakin. You did it." Vader shook his head. "It's not over, not for me." He deactivated his saber, his eyes no longer yellow but a haunted blue. "I can't stay. The dark side is still in me. I need to find my own path." Mace frowned. "You're a danger, Skywalker. If you fall again..." "Then stop me," Vader said. "But I won't let the Sith define me anymore." Yoda, who had arrived with reinforcements, nodded. "A journey you must take. The Force, it guides you still. Trust it, you must." Vader turned to Obi-Wan. "Thank you for seeing something in me." Obi-Wan smiled faintly. "May the Force be with you, Anakin." Anakin returned to Tatooine to Shmi. The galaxy was in turmoil, the Clone Wars ending but the scars deep. The Jedi, battered but unbroken, began to rebuild, wary of the Republic's fragility. Anakin chose a different path. He shed the name Darth Vader, reclaiming Anakin Skywalker. With Shmi, he built a quiet life, helping the people of Tatooine, freed slaves, moisture farmers, those forgotten by the galaxy. The dark side still whispered, but he fought it, drawing strength from his mother's love and the memory of Obi-Wan's faith. One night, under the twin suns, Anakin looked to the stars. The Force hummed around him, neither light nor dark, but whole. He was no Jedi, no Sith, but something new, a man forging his own destiny. The galaxy would heal, in time, and Anakin at last was free.